This is one in a series of presentations intended to teach healthcare professionals, volunteers, and others how to operate the pre-programmed amateur radio equipment provided by the San Joaquin County EMS Agency. It is intended to provide basic how-to information and is not a full course in radio operation. Welcome to this radio operation course. Its purpose is to teach you how to operate the amateur radio equipment located at your healthcare facility. This course takes less than 11 minutes to complete. It is intended for both pre-need and just-in-time radio training. This presentation covers the Kenwood TM V7A amateur radio transceiver. This is a dual-band transmitter-receiver or transceiver that operates on VHF and UHF amateur radio frequencies. This course will familiarize you with the most basic functions of the amateur radio equipment. You will learn only the essential controls necessary to operate the radio. This includes how to turn the radio on and off, how to set the volume and squelch controls, and how to select the left or right side of the radio for transmitting. You will also learn how to select the proper memory channel for use during an exercise or an emergency. Step 1 is to make sure the radio is ready for use. Look at the back of the radio to make sure an antenna cable is connected to the antenna connector. Operating the radio without an antenna attached will not allow you to transmit and is likely to destroy the transmitter. Make sure the radio is connected to the power supply and the power supply is connected to a wall outlet. Your radio requires 12-volt DC power to operate. It's provided by a separate power supply usually located near the radio. When the power supply is turned on, its on-off switch may be lit. If you want to follow along and the power supply is not already on, press the switch on the front panel to turn the power supply on at this time. The power supply should be turned off, however, when the radio is not in use. Your radio has two separate receivers, and this can cause confusion. There is a left receiver and a right receiver, and you can listen to both at the same time, which is why there are separate left and right volume and squelch controls. You must select the transmit band before transmitting, either the left side or the right side of the radio. We normally use only the left side of the radio. Next, we'll adjust the radio and then we'll turn it on. There are two important controls. The volume control behaves as you'd expect and controls the sound. The squelch control quiets static when there is no signal present. Now find the volume and squelch controls and turn the left volume and squelch controls to the 9 o'clock position. Left volume and squelch both to the 9 o'clock position. This sets the volume and squelch on the left side of the radio. Next, turn the right volume control fully counterclockwise. The right squelch control should be turned fully clockwise. Volume control counterclockwise, squelch control clockwise. These settings silence the right side of the radio. With the volume and squelch adjusted, press the power on-off button. The radio display should now light. If it does not, check the power supply and make sure that it's turned on. Select the left band by pressing the left volume control knob. Note that the PTT icon lights up on the side that is set to transmit. This should be set to the left side of the radio. PTT stands for push to talk and again designates the band or side of the radio that you'll be transmitting on. There are two ways to select the frequency you'll use. One is a traditional tuner called VFO mode that changes frequency as you turn the tuning knob. That's much the same as selecting a new frequency by turning the dial on your automobile radio. It's called VFO mode. The radio also contains pre-programmed memory channels, each of which has its own channel number and name. Use the MR key to select memory mode on the radio. This is very important and is often a cause of confusion. To select memory mode, press the MR button on the radio. This should cause a channel name and memory channel number to appear on the display. We use memory channels to make it easier to find the proper channel to use. Without memory channels, there are literally thousands of frequencies on which communication might be taking place. With memory channels, we have pre-programmed your radio with all the channels we might use during an emergency. These are the same channels that are used during drills and exercises or for normal amateur radio communication. Each memory channel has both a number and a name. The names won't make sense to you. They are tactical names selected for use in an organized and widely used frequency plan such as ours. The primary channels we use are SJC1 through SJC15. Getting the radio into the proper channel is the biggest challenge facing most users. You must be on the same channel as everyone you wish to communicate with. All healthcare facility radios have been pre-programmed with the amateur radio channels used in San Joaquin County. All of the facility radios are programmed alike. Many personally owned radios are also programmed using the same channel plan. If you own an amateur radio, we can arrange to program it so that it matches all these other radios, making it easier to use. You should only use memory mode, as I'm describing here. Note that memory mode shows a channel name and memory channel number on the display. In VFO mode, only a frequency number is displayed, as shown here. In memory mode, channels are selected by rotating the tuning knob. Clockwise rotation moves to a higher number channel, while counterclockwise rotation moves the radio to a lower channel. It's now time to select the proper channel for use. Most of the time we use channel 22, called SJC2, for our operations. This includes emergencies, non-emergencies, drills, and exercises. If in doubt, always start on channel 22 SJC2. If that channel is unavailable or fails while we're using it, we'll immediately switch to channel 24 SJC4. Our second backup channel is 23 SJC3. This is what the radio looks like when properly adjusted and set to memory channel 22 SJC2, which is our primary channel. Note that the PTT icon appears on the left side of the radio, showing that we're ready to transmit on our selected channel. Here are some tips for using amateur radio. First, use plain language, and if you don't understand something, just ask. No radio talk or CB jargon should be used during emergencies or during drills. When one station finishes speaking and releases the push-to-talk button, you'll usually hear some sort of a beep that's called a courtesy tone. That indicates that the other station has completed its transmission and another station can go ahead. The best way to learn about amateur radio is by listening to amateur radio. But don't be mic shy. Hams are a friendly group and want to talk to you. Mistakes are expected. SJC2 Channel 22, the Tracy repeaters, what we call it on the air, is a good place to start your amateur radio adventure. If the power supply does not turn on, it's either the cord is unplugged or the fuse has blown. If the radio does not turn on, it's probably the power supply is off or the radio was not turned on properly. Try holding the button a little longer. If the radio is on but no sound comes out, the volume control may be too low. If you hear continuous static, adjust the squelch control. You might find yourself on the wrong channel, so be sure to check. If you need help, ask another ham or call us for assistance. Here's a summary of what we've learned from this presentation. These are the most important 8 points. Obviously, the radio must be on, and doing that requires the power supply being turned on first. You must be in memory mode, where you see channel names and channel numbers rather than frequencies. In memory mode, select the proper channel. Usually this will be channel 22 named SJC2, but other channels may be used instead. Amateur radio is not just for emergency communications. In fact, emergencies are one of the smaller activities that involve amateur radio. Your ham license opens up a world of activities. These include talking around the world, talking to orbiting satellites, and to the International Space Station. There are weekly radio contests. You can also try do-it-yourself projects and many other fun activities. There are 4 amateur radio clubs in San Joaquin County, and each holds an on-the-air training net each week that you're invited to participate in. For more information, visit n5fdl.com for details. Thank you for your interest in this presentation. If you have any questions about the content or comments about the presentation, please contact either of us.